Hey team, welcome to this review. The Tipping Point, How Little Things Can Make a Big Difference by Malcolm Gladwell, published by Black Bay Books, and this was published in 2000. Don't say 20 anything when it's a 2000. It's a really old book. It is a business book that is at least 23 years old, but it intrigued me enough to read it again after 20 years of sitting on my shelf. It's 300 pages long, 8 chapters plus extras, and this book is written by a Canadian-born reporter who worked for the Washington Post and the New Yorker, who went viral several times over, actually, before going viral was a common thing. He put the theory and a lot of psychology into explaining why things stick and spread across the world when other things don't. Random book, I know, to be putting into education in this sort of setting, but why do some ideas stick and others just wash over? And I think that's an important thing for us in education to look at. And sometimes we've got to look to business to help us with that. The key to marketing, to influencing, to making new ideas and change acceptable and engaging, and even new ideas aspirational. He talks about how we can do that. Gladwell explains why ideas grow and germinate, and then what conditions are needed to hit that tipping point to become an epidemic. Think COVID, but more so things like Instagram, TikTok. Gladwell talks about 3 important rules. They aren't new now, but are worth understanding. He talks about the law of the few, the stickiness factor, and the power of context. The whole message is that we have innovators, 2.5% of us, and early adopters, that's 13.5%. And we grab new things, we grab new ideas quickly. And this is in Business Theory 101. We can look at books like, Diffusion of Innovations and the Technology Adoption Life Cycle. They're already on board here. But then, there are the vast majority. How do you get the early majority and the late majority, 34% each, and then those final laggards, the last few, 16%, to come with you? If you jump on Leadership and Pictures, I've already reviewed 2 books by Samuel B. Buckerich, getting them on your side and then keeping them on your side about how to bring people on board with you and creating that influence. How do you influence the majority? Simon Sinek picked up on this with, his book Start With Why. It's all the same theory. It's just packed in a different way each time. Gladwell pioneered this, and then the others have picked up on it and kept it current. So what does he mean? Well, he's got these 3 rules of epidemics, and let's unpack each of them a bit. One of them is the law of the few, that there are 3 groups of people needed to create your tipping point. First, you have the connectors, or we would call them the influencers now. Some people are natural connectors. They are people who are heard. Simply, they know lots of people and are connected. They are key networkers and work somewhat naturally in knowing people and interacting widely. In the world of business, they can make an exponential difference. They seamlessly know people and share connections. In schools, the people that walk across the different groups of people in your school, the people that are connected with everybody. The second group you've got are the mavens. They have a deep knowledge of a product or a process. They have a genuine interest in it. Their credibility and influence comes because of this depth and their ability to question. They have respect because they hold people accountable and get a huge amount of satisfaction from sharing their understanding. They're the people in the staff room that really annoy you. They ask the why question all the time, but everybody stops to listen. So you've got to give them that time because they have a lot of power of yes and no influence. Then you've got the salesmen. Like them or hate them, they have a skill base that has to be admired. I am not a salesman. I can be a connector and somewhat a maven. But I shy away from sales. I do admire them though. Persuasion, charm, enthusiasm, reading trends, convincing and networking, being relentless and just getting you across the line. They are important. If we don't have people getting the product to that finish line, then the influencers and the mavens could be a waste of time. The other part to look at in this that Gladwell gives us is the stickiness factor. And what I don't quite understand is why Gladwell puts us at this point in his book. I would have made it the first or the last point, not meat in the sandwich and the formatting of the delivery. While it is the guts of everything, without stickiness or a product that people really want and see value in, there is no amount of marketing or work of the few that is going to help the cause. You need a product that meets the market gap, the need. Without it, you simply have nothing. It's as simple as that. And then the power of context, and there are a couple of pieces in this. Peer pressure, social acceptance, whatever you're doing has to be personalised to my environment. People like it, one person likes it, they'll tell the next person, and then you've got the peer pressure and the social acceptance that everybody wants it. But it's got to be personalised to me to start with. It's got to influence what I like and my need. Whilst, many people in the world concern themselves with the greater good, in actuality, they care most about their here and their now. Whatever you put into place has to be relatable. For example, changing the context of the New York crime scene. We all want, as New Yorkers, if we are living in New York, we wanted the crime of New York to change, the daily grind of graffiti and broken windows at every corner. We could influence with safety on the subway first, but actually if we deal with the broken window, we deal with the crime, that we deal with the things in our visual landscape first, then I see change happening. And people call those the early wins. Find the context that pushes your audience's buttons. What is important to them and make this your priority. This relates to business, yes, but also to your work as a leader in school. Does this idea that I've got meet the needs of the teachers and my parents in my school? Just because it worked in another context, it may not work here. Keep it connected and keep it personalised. The other power of context, the other part of this is the magic of 150. The number 150. In education, we say schools at 150 are the best. It is the same in business. Wherever you keep teams, students, and the workforce grouped into 150s, you have a sweet spot. Keep teams of teachers with 150 students. Have parent meetings with no more than 150. Market to groups of 150. 150 is the sweet spot. Big enough to create a buzz, small enough to still feel like an individual, to feel connected without getting lost and without social dynamics changing. Interactions are personalised and engaged. Experiences are relatable. Even in businesses and schools of 2000, keep your connections to 150. Set up mini teams with your own leaders based on this. The power of influence at this point is phenomenal. If you want connection and retention and the ability to flex quickly, 150 is your number. Gladwell loses me at times in his book with too many words and bringing his business theory and psychology throughout the book. However, it is really worth a read. The case studies in here make interesting thinking and reflection. Hush Puppies, Sesame Street, Blue's Clues, the New York City crime, Airwalk shoes, Micronesia suicides, the smoking epidemic, and an untested solution for this. As an aside, I do love his thinking here. Smoking isn't cool, but cool people are smokers. It took me a while to work out thinking around that. Grab the book and have a read. Ultimately, new ideas need creativity and resilience. They need focus and testing and retesting and a huge amount of belief, self-belief and then belief and buy-in from others. The tipping point as a book might be 20 plus years old. It has relevance. It explains why things go viral, why things are accepted and why others aren't. There is relevance for understanding viral sensations today and about how to influence change in our schools. Grab it, have a read.